Okay, we're going to make a square, 2 squares of Gabriel, the moon. So that's a 9 is the number of the moon. So we're going to do a lower harmonic that's 4.5 inches, which means that we want a 5.5 inch square, which I've already marked out here. What? He got somewhat prepared? What's wrong with him? He never gets somewhat prepared. Is he staying in the shot this time? Don't know about that. Don't get too selfish there thinking I'm going to stay in the shot. I mean, one thing at a time. I actually will try though. Sorry about that, guys. I know I'm sort of in my own little world when it comes to magic. So why am I doing it on camera then? Good question. Okay, so what we want to do is remember that since we're using a harmonic, we're going to be using 1/2 inch squares, but before we do that, let's take this 1/2 inch border and mark it out on each square. Start with that, 1/2 inch border. We like a 1/2 inch border. It gives us enough room to make some symbols in the corners if we like, which I like to do. I think that's a very good rule of thumb for these things. And just a reminder that these are permanent squares that you're going to be keeping like in a file folder or something like that. They are not going to be used once and then ripped up like so many of the other ones that we do. These are not for a specific purpose necessarily, although they can be. But what we're doing today is different. I think I'm going to use the violet. You could use violet paper with white pencil, but I'm not doing that. These colors don't flash so much. There's no real flash to white and violet. But they are 2 of her colors that she uses, so we will use them. Making borders, because we're not hoarders. Well, I stopped being a hoarder. I started getting a bit hoardy at one point, and I didn't notice that. And I just said, uh-oh, no, we're not doing this. I'm not going to go there. No hoarding. And I did a spell for that. And I asked for help from Gabriel. Please help me stop hoarding and help me clean out everything. And I've never looked back. I haven't been a hoarder in a long time. Now, be careful when you do that you just make sure that you don't just arbitrarily throw stuff out, because I did, and then I got rid of stuff I wish I hadn't. So you don't need to do that. I don't know why I'm getting into this hoarding thing all of a sudden. That wasn't really the topic. The topic today is magic squares. So we're doing this at the 9 inches, the 1/2 inches, so that we can get 9 by 9. Okay. So we're starting out with a 4.5 inch square. We're cutting at we're making our grid so that each cell is, so that each row is 1/2 inch and each column is 1/2 inch, and that'll give us the right amount of squares of cells inside the grid. So that when we put our numbers in, remember what a magic square is it's the if you take 9 and you multiply it by itself, which is that? I should know that because I went to school. It's been a long time. 81. So you're gonna put 0. You're gonna put 1 through 81. Each number is gonna have its own cell, but they have to be arranged in such a way that each row and each column add up to the same sum. Luckily, those mathematicians have done this work for us, because nobody wants to do that. Although the formulas are not that hard. You can do it, but it's not necessary. Anybody that's interested in doing their own Maybe we'll put those formulas up for some time. To me, that's a lot of extra work. And we're trying to make things streamlined and easy and simple. And since the work's already been done, I think your efforts are better spent elsewhere. But there's something to be said for the fact that if you did the formulas yourself, you would also be getting more in tune with the numbers. So I will probably end up putting those formulas up. They're not hard. You can just, you don't have to wait for me. Just go online and look up how to make a magic square, and you'll see how to do it. It's a mathematical recreation device for most mathematicians, but for us, it's a keying in device. It's a psychological, it's a means for contacting through our deep mind a specific force. And in our case, 9 represents the ninth sphere on the Kabbalistic tree, who is personified in our system as the Archangel Gabriel. And so this is a square of Gabriel for us. Okay, here we go. Every half inch, doing our best to make it nice. Every half inch. I don't even know if you can see me. Do it with me. Get out your pencil, get out your paper, get out your ruler. Do this with me. Don't make me do it by myself. It's not very fair. I'm just making some grids. You know, we stop the video and start it up again. Just drawing grids in. Start out with the right size, and then just divide it using, if you're using the actual number, then it's every inch. If you're using the harmonic smaller, it's every half inch. If you're using a harmonic larger, it's every 2 inches, which sometimes we can do with the square of Saturn because it's such a small square. Sometimes making a 6-inch square of Saturn is nice. It just depends. You can have more than one of these too. You can have a big one and a little one. The only problem with doing the full-on square of Gabriel is you have to have such a huge sheet of paper that it becomes really cumbersome. So this is usually the better way to do it. You don't need to always use the measurements of the square depending on how it's being utilized. There are other measurement methods that we will get into at a later time, and they can get very complicated and frustrating, and that's against what we're trying to do today. We're trying not to frustrate. We're trying to streamline, trying to make it as simple as possible and still be as effective as possible. And these are really effective the way we're doing them. You're going to find that you have some great results from doing this kind of magic. Now, there's nothing wrong with just using the plain old regular talisman if you want, the basic one, where all you do is you write a name down and some thoughts, some words, some key words, and then you trap those into that circle of any size and don't even measure it. And it's very powerful to do that. Extremely powerful to do that. All right, am I using the right color? Yes. All right, so here's our square of the moon. Now isn't that daunting? It's a lot of work. So this is going to get sped up. There's no reason for you to sit here and watch me do all this. But just do it left to right or whatever you want. Just do your best to keep it accurate. Okay, so we've got our completed square, numeric square. Now we want to, on our second one, we want to convert the alphabet, remember? So we draw our alphabet out and put in numeric order a number for each letter, 1 through 26, A through Z, okay? Because what we want to do is we're going to say, okay, well, where this number 1 is, we're going to put in the exact same place on the next square. That's going to be A. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our A. 2 is going to be B. 3 is going to be C. And 4 is going to be D. Right? And on and on and on we go. And then Z is going to be R26. Where is R26? Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Z. Okay? So that's how we do that. And you just leave all those other squares blank. That's all that is. Okay? So now we're going to put our symbol of the moon at the 4 corners. See this little tick right in here that it was a bad measurement? If I get some liquid paper, which I think I must have some, since it's white, I don't have to worry about, ooh. I don't have to really worry about it. It's all better. It's the one cool thing about a white paper that you make any kind of talisman or squares, that there is liquid paper, which you don't want to get on your nice desk. Okay. Let's put those here. I'm putting them the opposite way. I don't know why. I was just compelled to do that. I don't usually do that. So I'm just going to go with it. So we got a waxing and a waning. Interesting. Never done that before. Okay, now I'm just going to find my nice violet. Is this it? Let's start purple. I don't want that. Oh, that is violet. It just looks weird. And I just color these guys in on the sides, these side panels. Again, if you want to put divine names here, you can. It's perfectly fine. I'm just trying to make it a little less cumbersome this first time out, because these can seem a little daunting at first. But you see, as you see me do them, they're not that hard. They're really not that hard. Just, I think anytime we see numbers and grids and things like that, it's like, it's math. We didn't have to do one little bit of addition on this. There's more math on the geometric stuff than on these. These, all the math has been done for us. And what you've got is some nice, you've got a few nice methods to tune in to these different angelic energies. Now, since I'm on Wednesday today, and I was out on Monday and Tuesday, so I used the planetary hours of Wednesday, which is Mercury, and Mercury is the messenger of the gods. Raphael is the messenger, so Wednesday is always a complementary day for every angel. Now each angel has at least one complementary day, but most of them have several, so you don't always have to do things on Wednesday. But if you're using a complementary day, do your best to try to use their angelic hour, their proper hour. If you can't, it's okay. At least try to avoid the hour of one that's not complementary if possible. But again, if you're on a complementary day, you should be okay overall. But if you can use the hour, that's great. I know it can be hard if you're a busy professional person. I understand that. But do your best, okay? It's so funny that I did a waxing and a waning. I've never done that. I always do it like the traditional way. But I kind of like it. And I never made, because my habit for drawing the glyphs, is so ingrained because I've studied astrology for so many years. That was my first thing. I did astrology before anything. I was like 8. I started learning how to do astrology. I started learning how to do it. Remember, we didn't have computers when I was a kid, so I had to do every chart by hand. And I'm not mathy. I'm not a mathy guy. But when it came to astrology, for some reason it didn't bother me. Those mathematic formulae were not very hard. And they aren't hard. And I think everybody should learn how to cast a chart by hand. Not only just use the computer. I use the computer now, but I know I can do it. The formula's not that hard. I know I can do it. When I used to teach the craft, I always made my students cast their chart by hand, no matter what. You couldn't graduate from my witchcraft class until you had done that. And I would do it with you. I would do it with the class. But and even after, when the computer programs were a thing and everybody was using them, nobody was doing them by hand anymore, and I was still teaching that class, I still insisted on it because I just think it's a skill that gets you to deepen your care, if not your understanding, in the art. So you could probably make these talisman and they could be perfect and gorgeous on a computer and print them out, but I don't think they would be anywhere nearly as powerful as these that don't look as perfect, but you have done your own work on. All right, but that's just my opinion. I mean, okay, so there we have. Wow, we did a lot of work. So I'm going to show you in another video how to use these. But make one for each. Try to make one for each of the 8 teaching angels. Make 2, I should say, for each of the 8 teaching angels. All right, and then I will show you how to use them. Blessed be.